We are the nerds. We are the nerds of the apocalypse.
Alright, Head, give me a test.
Oh yeah, this Sunday, Mike Nelson in the cage with an 800-pound gorilla. All he has is a monkey wrench. Will the irony work against him?
And Nova, please.
Hey, Dave.
Thank you. I would say have fun, but that's...
I get it. Joke's on you, this will be the most boring panel ever. Hopefully not. The other objective. If it starts going bad, we'll just make it work.
We're gonna go south. We're gonna go to Blaze of Glory. We have ball boys, so
We'll just pull a Matthew McConaughey. Just start.
All right.
Yeah,
I do this a lot.
You guys know why I dropped the link. Oh, we are 3 minutes late. We were 1 minute over yesterday. Yay! Hello, everybody. My name's Stevhan Head, or I'm Showtime with Nerds of the Apocalypse. That's a whole story you can watch on our YouTube channel. YouTube.com/Nerds of the Apocalypse.
You never told me that.
Yeah, it's the Net Forever or the Lone Date video. It details all my previous dating mishaps. And you are?
And I am Arylias Nova. I am a sci-fi / horror writer. And today we're going to be talking about using the plausibility of actual facts and manipulating them into sci-fi writings and movies, and how that helps to link a bridge into the imagination to create that world.
You want me to start?
Okay.
I read a lot of Star Wars. I'm sure everyone here reads Star Wars, or at least like Star Trek. You got some kind of sci-fi background you all enjoy. With sci-fi, there's a degree of, okay, we know this can't really happen, but you accept it to have the universe work. But then there's certain, like gravity still applies. But then there's people who can alter gravity, like Star Wars has the hovering anti-gravity engines, or whatever you want to call it. Someone's wearing Fallout right here. That's sci-fi post-apocalyptic. Whoever's seen a laser gun that you have to wind up like a jack-in-the-box, but you say, oh, it's generating energy, it turns it into somehow a concentration relation. You just accept that. You don't think, oh, well, that could never happen. The movie I do that with is Fast and the Furious, but that's a whole other different genre. But you're actually a sci-fi writer, so you've played this game for a while. How do you handle it?
I try not to go too far, because I tend to write about people that have different, like the sci-fi series, the stories of Gardart. There's people in a modern day world that have different talents and abilities, and like magicians. For one, they're slightly heightened with super speed. It's not that they're just really good at sleight of hand. It's they actually have a super speed, so that they're actually doing things faster than the eye can see. And I just with sci-fi, you can stretch it farther, because the main character is an electrokinesis, so is there a plausibility with that? No, not really. But in the second book, Ignition, I reference a guy in India who was an actual man, this is real, you can look it up, who he can ground himself out. So when he's touching high voltage, whatever weird tweak has happened in his body, he can ground himself out. So I mentioned that to help kind of fill in that plausibility of, it could maybe happen. There's maybe a reality basis to lead into this. But then again, sometimes writers will go or screenwriters for movies and stuff, they'll go way too far, and it's now you lost me. Because now it's, it's detracting from the story or from the visuals, because even though you love it, it's it becomes more present that it's not plausible, and there's not that, oh, well, maybe, what if chance. It's just yeah, there's no way. There's no way. So you have to find that balance of, it maybe could far-fetched, but, like what you were saying, the wind-up laser gun,
Yeah. Or, for instance, my favorite example of this going wrong is Interstellar. Granted, has a lot of really cool theories about time and space. Things, have 1 hour on a planet equals 20 years in space, stuff like that. But then there's one particular part that I like to say should have been named Matthew McConaughey floating through space saying crap, which was when everyone seen the movie? Most a lot of people have. If you don't, it's a really, really good movie. Still suggest you see it. I'm going to tell you about this part, so it's not really going to ruin anything for you. He's literally just floating through, I guess, what's a black hole, or he's in another dimension. And there's all these lines going through, and he's saying something about how time is folding in on itself, how he can see everything, and how he has access to all the knowledge, and there's some kind of like third-dimensional species talking to him, and they exist outside the realm, but they can manipulate time, and they walk through this. It's really, really. Have you seen that picture of I don't remember who the famous artist was, but he like has all these stairs. They're Escher. Escher, yes, that guy. That's what it pretty much looks like. And it's like, yeah, I understand this. I think the only reason he got away with that, because there's no way he memorized that, all those words, was that the whole premise of that scene is he's supposed to be floating around, just looking around, seeing stuff, and he's reading a teleprompter. Like, I don't even think he knew what he was saying. But if you watch that scene again, I'm hoping you can see where I had an issue with it. Like, everything else is really cool. I even accepted the fact I have a problem with AI. I usually just generally accept it, but I think it's really hard for a computer programmer to make something that can think for itself and learn. But I would totally be open to it happening, right? Time travel's always been like an iffy thing for me. I love it when people do that, but sometimes it goes too far and there's too many people just come back in time. And then this thing happens, and now you just have this guy who's usually driving a Lincoln Navigator and just saying crap in space. It's like, why are you gonna do that? Has anyone run into an issue with sci-fi that they
is it possible to write Christian science fiction? Because that's what I want to write.
This goes into a completely different philosophy that I have, where I believe that the world will be a better place when religion and science decide to link together. But that's totally me. We'll talk about that afterwards. I'd be happy to get into. I just don't want to offend anybody who thinks that no, they can't mix.
No, I'm not talking anything controversial. It's just I'm a Christian, and I kind of noticed there's nothing for nerds, and that's what I want to do.
I would love to see that boundary broken, because I think it's totally possible. They say things about I think there is a theory with religion where it's like God kind of set up evolution and process and took a back step and just kind of tweaks it as for his will. I don't see that. I see that could be a very door you could go through to try that, but you got to also think that's a different sect of Christianity. So who's gonna appreciate that? But it's definitely something that's possible. You know why it's possible? Because this is America, and we can do what we want to here. But no, you can absolutely make that happen. It's your world, and the only way to do it is just do it and see what happens. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the writer, it's your story. So if you want to write science fiction and have underlying tones of religion, be it Christianity or Hinduism or Buddhism, you can definitely do that. Because you're putting a part of you in your story, so you can link the two for sure.
Here's a way that I looked at. I'm not sure exactly what you went for with Spark. So electrokinesis, right? Everyone's familiar with the scientific fact that we have electrical impulses in our body, right? And it goes through our brains. That's how we do fMRIs and such like that. So that's why I was like, well, now someone can manipulate that. There are paranormal theorists who believe that psychics or people who are sensitive to the paranormal realm are able to feel that extra electrical sense. And then there's also the fact of, if you have faulty wiring, it can be giving off that electromagnetic field, and then you can feel it anyway because it's manipulating your body. You're standing close enough to it. You ever stood next to an outlet that was kind of messed up? I have. It was really a scary house. And you can just kind of feel if you get really close to it. Granted, I was like here it is, and I was really close to it, but you can feel it, So that's why I was like, it's completely plausible that someone maybe for some reason could manipulate electricity in some way, and then sci-fi lets you take that the next step. Now you can manipulate the ones in your mind. So that's how I looked at it. Completely possible. I can see that.
I saw something. I don't know how true it is. They said that they semi-proved that when people die or pass away, that their body basically, the energy continues on. That's been scientifically proven that it's almost like an analog, or is that right? Is the right term? Where like the energy is actually recorded into like eternity, like it continues on in the atmosphere, almost like, you know, recording sound on a DVD or something, you know.
Energy can never be destroyed, it can only change form.
Yeah.
That would probably be where part of that comes from.
Yeah.
That
That kind of crosses into that realm of like.
Yeah, so that's completely plausible, you know?
And a lot of this.
I'm saying some people say that's the soul, but then you scientifically say, well, that's our human energy, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, like with, you know, yeah,
Right.
energy,
We're
it's
gonna
always
talk
going,
about
it's always
this.
manipulating.
It's gonna be really crazy now.
And a lot of the stuff that people have come up with, like a lot of writers, I mean, Star Wars and Star Trek, a lot of the stuff that the writers wrote way back when is now actually like, oh no, we can actually maybe do this. Like, this is actually a thing, you know, because like you thought outside of the box, and now it's like, okay, so, you know, doing a hyper jump or going into warp speed or creating a wormhole blast to, you know, link through to, you know, travel faster. These are actual things that science is now looking into, you know, to use. So it's kind of like reverse engineering, like kind of go hand in hand.
Granted, at the same time that I didn't like that part of Interstellar, he entered a black hole. We don't know what happens when you go into a black hole. You very well could end up like Matthew McConaughey floating through space anywhere. Or you may have it in another dimension like Farscape did, where they had the black hole that planted them right outside a different time's Earth. So that was, by the way, I love Farscape. I was really mad how they ended it. You can't blow up the main character in a bunch of pieces and end it. You just can't do that. What's up?
So you had asked about any issues that we have with science fiction, and you mentioned earlier Fast and Furious, other than multiple years for
The 18 shifting
For the longest flight line in all of America.
But in Star Wars, Star Trek, Farscape, it always seems, my biggest issue is that with gravity. Whatever ship they're on, there's some series where Interstellar, they have some type of rotation, or 2001, any of those, there's some type of rotation that explains the gravity on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
All those others, they never have it. It's not like a supermassive ship or anything. They have inertial dampeners, whatever, but nothing to explain the gravity. It's just, you accept it. It's like an on and off.
In the movies.
Yeah, like literally, yeah, like that's.
Who reads the new Star Wars books that are out now with Disney? I recommend you do that because they start addressing that. All the Star Destroyers are equipped with an anti-gravitational generator that usually spins, and there are even some points in the books where it gets disabled and everyone's floating around. Not like Matthew McConaughey. So like,
and then
that
they're
was
just talking.
Yeah, and then no one's talking, they're all freaking out. No, they talk about they address that, and then also there's a lot of talk about interplanetary travel, and like the Millennium Falcon starts having issues because it's basically duct taped together because of all the mods that are on it, and they address like how wind and how different they'll turn on the anti-gravity thing in their ship when there's too much gravity on a planet, or the different kind of winds that are dealing with how the Falcon travels, or the X-Wing or whatever. I was like, man, they actually get into it. They don't go like so far into it where you're like, okay, now you're just making crap up. They just address like, oh, the wind was really choppy, so it was hard for them to land. Anyone watch Rebels? Star Wars Rebels? Yeah. So y'all remember the episode that introduced the B-wing? I think in season 2. Yeah, they addressed it in that episode as well. So you're right. A lot of that stuff was previously just left out. I think there was a company that was like, let's try and get people to relate to it a little bit more. Yeah. What's up?
I don't know if you read the Old Republic in Star Wars, but they also address similar things like that.
How do they do it in that? Because it's funny because that's a huge different era from the current Star Wars ones.
Yeah. For Old Republic fans, I read like the novels and comics on it, and well, I mean, I think the comics are still more operatic, but the novels are definitely go into a bit more detail on how things work, things like that. I mean, it's in the past, but it's still hyper advanced as well. So I guess I have more time to talk about those things than a 90-minute movie, you know.
Oh
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a whole issue I have with timing anyway. It's like you have forums like this. There's so much to say about a topic, right? But you're so limited on how long you have to say. So you have to make these like generalizations. You're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. But sometimes you can just get enough. You have another book you're kind of saying. What was it? Ignition is the next one.
Oh yeah, in Ignition, I really started to go into more of like the science behind the different people with different talents. I'm trying to think of one. So, you guys know like the old like graveyard bells that they used to have because like people weren't really dead. I actually take that. Yeah. Hey guys. I actually take that as an example, and I talk about how those weren't like the people were using those because people could regenerate, and regeneratives are like they used to be really popular or a big populace. Among everybody, but then they slowly started to fade out, due to just circumstance and genetics and stuff like that. But like I use that as a plausible link to why we had those bells, and one big thing with the regenerative talents that I do in the book is I don't do that. It's just infinite. Like I try to stay within a realm where it happens. You regenerate, kind of semi-fast. And then each time that you regenerate, it's slower and slower and slower because your body's aging, your cells are aging, that ability is aging, to where you have X amount of times that you could possibly do that. Or, if you're just too old and you've had, your body just gives out.
That's like a doctor.
Yeah, that's like doctor regeneration.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's like I just had sensation perception and then another class in psychology where they talk about how different parts of the brain can take over for ones that aren't functioning correctly. So if you're a child and you get brain damage and that part of your brain can't function, other parts will actually take over for it, right? But it takes a lot of time for it to do that. When you're young, like you said, you can do that faster, and so it's quite possible that you'll become a full functioning adult even if you have that brain damage, if it happens when you're young enough. If it happens when you're older, you can still have a degree of that happening, but it's not as, who's playing Pokemon Go? Just kidding. It doesn't happen as efficiently because that part of the brain has already done so much for so long. The other parts are so stuck in their way, they have to start adjusting then. It just takes a long time.
Yeah.
So that's another perfect example of how it's literally grounded in scientific fact. There's research supporting that. They've seen it. So, y'all learned a bunch of stuff today.
Because I actually use the brain thing too, where they're trying to sedate Ford again, and he starts, because he's a electrokinesis that can manipulate the electrical signals in the mind, and so he starts doing it to himself. And the parts that are starting to go to sleep, he starts jumping the circuits to keep his body still functioning. But obviously that's a lot harder for him because it's a lot more work.
Is he? I don't know. You find that out at the end.
I know.
I would really suggest picking up her book and picking up. There's something that's it's really cool as a concept she has at the end for what Ford can do with one of his abilities. But what's up?
So what was your back before you started writing? Like when you went to your college, you got a degree. So what did you get your degree in that?
I hate that.
Did you gain this information from whatever you pursued in college, or just stuff you did personal research throughout the years?
It's actually just stuff that I've learned over the years in personal research, because I actually do not have a college degree.
Boom! You don't need college to be successful. Just kidding.
Now get out. Don't ask that again.
No, just because like when I went to college, I was fascinated by everything. That I started forensic pathology. And then I went to astronomy, and then I went to wildlife biology. So I was just like bouncing all over the place, and I was like, okay, I'm wasting my time. Not wasting my time, but so I just kind of took a step back and then just
started writing.
Yeah, exactly. Started writing on my own, did my own research because I'm already interested in it anyways. Now I have all these textbooks. So
those are expensive. Who has a particular sci-fi series they want to share with us? Maybe we can get some opinions about how sci-fi works in that world.
I'm writing a book. You're probably going like it's about time detective in 2106, and she's actually a fairy, and she's been living on Earth for all her life. She's 16. She turned 16, and what happens is she goes through time to solve unsolved crimes. At the same time, not try to destroy the
timeline. Yeah.
But just try to answer like who killed who and stuff. Well, that's the first book. Well, what happens is she gets a partner, and they unlock a conspiracy within the Time Detective Agency that the head, she doesn't know it, the head wants to destroy, or the alien wants to take over because he can. They find a conspiracy. Okay, I haven't written this down, but they find a conspiracy that someone is trying to use time to take over. At the same time, she's personally learning something about herself. She finds out she's actually a long-lost princess of another planet. I know it sounds real, but
no, that's a huge imagination to put all that together.
so at the same time, she's trying to save Earth while trying to go home.
Right. So it's got a bunch of different time theories in it, right?
Yeah.
Who watches Big Bang Theory? They talked about time a couple times. We're too much in one sentence.
Time.
Go back in time and change that. So they have, what was it, string theory, and they have time is a loop where it ends up repeating itself. Huh?
Dr. Who.
Yeah, Wibbly Wobbly. Yeah. Hey, explain the Doctor Who one. You know, all right, no one walk out. I've never seen Doctor Who.
We're done. Come on.
Seriously? It was sold to me wrong. Someone told me to skip the first 7 or 8 seasons, and I was like, how does that sound like a good show to you? And then he was like, oh, they explained it to me yesterday. I'm sorry. I apologize.
You should definitely catch up on the current version of the season.
And then go back, because otherwise you're gonna be like,
yeah, that's what it was explained to me. I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
I've never seen it either.
Yay! Stay, come sit up here.
Like, okay, a brand session. Episode 1 to, what episode are they on now? Like 2000?
Never.
I know it's gonna be. I know this was the last season of the 12th Doctor.
Sorry.
What happened in the last season? Because I remember seeing it. My mind's drawing blank though.
Alright. We're cutting short on time, guys. We're going to go ahead and do this. But yeah, so there's a lot of really cool, like there's the fact, or the part of where time you can like fold it back on itself, and that's how you travel through. But then Event Horizon did that, and they ended up going through hell, which is almost like a Warhammer kind of deal. It's pretty awesome. Or Doom. Doom is another good example where they try to manipulate time, and things go horribly wrong. Or you try to go back in time, and it works. They skip that whole hell part, which is probably better. And depending on which one it is. And they can go back and they can manipulate time and save people. And that's actually what's happening in what I'm watching in Fairy Tale right now. That's another thing I might have been watching.
You've seen Fairy Tale.
Yeah. So, you should have been at the panel yesterday. I did all sorts of Fairy Tale stuff going on. Then, time travel, like I said, it's a really cool thing if it's done well. And that sounds like it was written with. It's very weird balance to use time travel. Because if you use too much of it, and all of a sudden people are thinking too much, end up like Matthew McConaughey. I'm just gonna float through space, say some stuff, get a Lincoln, pick my nose and throw it. I'm just kidding.
I just finished wrapping up Alistair Reynolds' Society Children's series, and it's about this speculative fiction about basically just colonizing other planets and exploration, and a key feature of that was something they call skip over, which is like a cryogenic stasis.
Did you say skip over?
I did like Uno. Sorry.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. I know that there are real cryogenic studies out there. And I'm not sure how well they progress, but in that world, in that fantasy, it seems to work pretty well. I mean, when you emerge out of it, you're a little rough, and you have to go to therapy for a couple of weeks to kind of make sure everything's okay, that you're functioning properly. But
but it's not like Blue Gender, where they just wake you up like a giant load.
Good to go.
At least you've seen Blue Gender.
I love Blue Gender.
My favorite sci-fi series of sorts is actually a game called Warframe. And
the new one on PS4 and all that?
Oh, it has a 5-year running thing, but it's recently been moved to Xbox One and PS4. But yeah, if you actually know Warframe, then you probably understand what I'm talking about when it comes to the Void. How something so amazing and weird can actually exist. I mean, literally, if you ever find one of those rooms that actually has a window that stares out into the void in the tileset map, you actually wonder, okay, are we like in the nebula or something with all those space lightning outside, or is this actually like a pocket type thing where everything is really weird? Because in the lore, the Zarman in 10-0 that tried to avoid space jump of sorts. Everyone but the children did not come back. But even then, the children of the Zarman 10-0, they were literally changed, as in they were kind of like a blessed curse type of deal from the void with extreme powers. So where the Rokin called them devil minds who controlled these golden bodies. But long story short though, Warframe has huge untapped lore but major sci-fi stuff going on in it as well. Yeah. Well, from space travel to solar rails and all that type of stuff.
You like Warhammer? Warhammer stuff? Dude, you can even just read it. Blood Angel Prophecy and Ultramarines Omnibus, all those things. Those are awesome. Or Spark and Ignition, blah blah blah. That's a situation where like Warhammer mixes with like science with religion anyway. The whole thing is like the God Emperor and doors opening, and then that's it. When there's such a huge universe expanding on, you have a book, right? It just tells you what's happening in that book, and then you say, okay, well, read this encyclopedia about my whole universe, which is what Lord of the Rings did, which is what Star Wars did. They released that book along with every movie. It says, here, read about why Poe Dameron's X-Wing is black, and those kinds of deals. It's great when they have those backstories. That's also one of the reasons why the new Star Wars stuff is a lot of my favorite, because the books really build a lot. Looking forward to your series, the other part coming out, where it gives the introductions to the characters, but like their own little.
Oh yeah, like the origins and everything. I think
we're about out of time.
If you guys want to, so that the other people can come in, if y'all want to talk anymore or have questions or anything.
Right outside.
We'll be outside for a couple minutes, and then he'll be at the Nerds of Apocalypse table, which is if you take a left and then another left down that hallway. All of their setups down there.
Watch out! There is a catapulting robot over there shooting balls, so just be careful with that. It's not ours.
Dodgeball in the back.
We'll also be in a 1 o'clock panel in the same room, telling crazy stories. You might even hear some of how I got the name Showtime. So
thank you guys for coming. We appreciate that.